Hey you guys, what's up? This is James here at Unique Perspectives. I'm actually here at Clover Park here in the city of Santa Monica, California. I actually worked at a preschool for about 7-8 years, maybe a while back ago. I stopped working there in like 2020, so I'm very familiar with the area. I think this is a really nice park. It's still the morning time, kind of like almost hitting that afternoon point, so I really want to just go ahead and make a video here because I love the location. But I really want to talk more specifically about 5 reasons why guys are actually hesitant to move forward when it comes to marriage. So this is obviously something very important to a lot of guys. I'm not going to make this complicated. It's very simple, and it's really just the type of personalities mostly that really just cause a lot of guys to be hesitant to move forward when it comes to marriage, including myself to some extent. Now, I want to be very clear before I get into these points. I am not a red pill guy. I'm not a guy that demonizes all women. I know that everyone's different. I still think marriage is something very important and very essential for the growth and just to, live a very rich life, according to God. God says for example, in Proverbs 18:22, he who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. And so God is already saying that we will obtain favor if we, are married. That's something that he's going to not only entrust us in, but he's going to support us. Another thing I want to remind us is that God wants everyone to have companionship. Genesis 2:18 says, it's not good for man to be alone. I'm going to make him a helper suitable for him. So God desires, once again, for everyone to be married. So I really want to emphasize that. But I do want to go through these points, why there are certain personality traits that are causing a lot of guys to be hesitant. So of course there's more reasons, but I just want to talk about these. So I'm not going to complicate this. Number one is loneliness. There are some women that are lonely and they really don't care who it is that they connect with. They just want somebody. And I think there's a lot of guys, not all, but there's a lot of guys that we desire marriage. We want a quality relationship, but we want to be with somebody that wants to be with us, not just trying to fill in a void. I don't know about you guys, but I like when I show up at a location and there are people that care about the fact that I showed up and it wasn't just anybody else. So I think it's just important just to be mindful that although it's important to get married, you want to find somebody that actually cares about you specifically and not trying to just fill a void, and they're willing to have anybody for any reason because they're lonely. And if you don't have a strong foundation that you're building a relationship on, it's almost better off not to even do it at all. That's number one. Very simple, but yeah, some guys really just don't want to be with a woman that's just lonely. They want to be desired specifically for who it is that they are. Number two is social status. There's a lot of ladies out there that, quite frankly, they see marriage as bragging rights. They want to show off the ring. They want to show people that they were wanted enough to get off the market, and now somebody wants them. Somebody has them. And so they really don't care too much about the person that's filling that void, but it's really about bragging rights. It's really about saying, hey, look at me, I made it. I made it to the top. I'm married. Now I have that social status, that I'm above other people. And so again, there's a lot of guys that really don't want to be a part of that. We don't want to fill in that void, that empty void that just about anybody can fill. We want to be loved. We want to be valued. And I'm talking about the quality guys. I'm talking about the traditional guys. I'm talking about Christian men that have traditional conservative values, that actually care about the marriage covenant. They want to actually be a part of something that's beautiful, that's long-term, that's, has a strong foundation. And you can't build something of quality when you're connecting essentially with somebody that they're just looking for bragging rights. They really don't care about the person that's they're with, that companion. They really just want to tell the world that they are off the market. And so it really just takes the desire out of marriage when you're encountering people that they're just looking for the ring so they can go show mom and the sisters and everybody else in the world and go post it online, when marriage is so much more than bragging rights. Maybe essentially this kind of sounds very similar to the first point, but it's really just number 3. And this is really just steered towards people that really don't have a lot of options. They're almost desperate. They are willing to be with anybody that's showing them attention. So this is number 3 when it comes to, why guys are hesitant when it comes to marriage. And essentially number 3 is people that are desperate, that have no other options. They essentially really don't care, kind of like very similar to number 1 and 2. They're really just looking for somebody. They're not looking specifically for certain attributes in a man, of a quality man. They're just looking for somebody just to be with. In fact, I was going to say that, a lot of these people I know people with these personality traits, both men and women. And the idea really is they feel so desperate that they're willing to give themselves to anybody that will give them enough attention. So it's kind of like being desperate, not having any standards. You're willing to just be with whoever, and yeah, they really just don't know how to go about finding a relationship and really connecting with somebody of quality. I will say this, that again, there are a lot of guys that are goofballs. They're using and abusing and they don't know what they're doing. But I'm talking about men like I would like to consider myself in that camp, in which we are looking for a quality relationship, and we don't want to just fill in an empty void or be with somebody that's desperate and lonely. We want to actually have a quality person that wants us as a quality partner as well. And so it's something that kind of has, causes a lot of guys to be hesitant to move forward with that, when the person is essentially, once again, they're willing to have anybody as long as you fulfill those desperate needs that they have of not only, sexual and companionship, but just, they're lonely. They're looking for the bragging rights. They just want somebody because they don't have any other options and they're desperate. Number 4, which is probably the most popular of all the lists, and that is materialistic. There are a lot of people, women, not all women, but there are women that they just want money. They want things, and they care about things. They're looking for gifts on their birthdays, their gifts for Valentine's, gift for Christmas, gift when it's not a holiday at all. They just want gifts, they want time, they want all these things, and they're not interested in really accommodating their partner. They're not interested in offering something to their partner. They're not interested in really taking interest in the man that they've connected with. So it's really like a deterrent. It's really a repellent even for a lot of guys that are not married yet, or maybe they were married, and it's just not very encouraging to want to move forward with something like that. Once again, I do desire marriage specifically, but I can also see why there are guys that are hesitant to move forward. There's a lot of challenges and difficulties when it comes to looking at different parameters and looking at the different options that we have, especially in our Western society. It could be a little tricky sometimes for men that have genuine interest, because some of the options sometimes can be bleak. It can be bleak, and I'm not putting down women. Obviously, I know a lot of quality women. Many of them are already married. They're a guy that seen this quality lady that took care of herself mentally, spiritually, emotionally, in every different aspect. And of course, she's off the market because somebody's seen that she was a valuable person. And that's one thing I just will, squeeze out there for the ladies and just kind of share, that if you are a quality person, men are going to make sure that not only they date you, but they commit to marrying you, because they're not going to want anybody else to have you. Keep that in mind. Number 5 is pretty basic, and that is unrealistic expectations. Maybe that essentially goes into the materialistic aspect, but there are a lot of women that expect to get in a relationship and sit back while the guy just stresses when it comes to paying rent, paying the mortgage, paying all the bills, paying everything, and they see the guy as an ATM machine. And although we live in a society in which there are a lot of women that are willing to work and things like that, not every woman thinks that way. I was talking to one of my lady friends that's around my age, in middle age time period in her life, and she still has the mindset that she's going to be able to be with somebody and he's going to just take care of the mortgage. And I was just thinking, in our Western society that we have, specifically here in the United States, that's very unrealistic that she's going to even be entertained by that in her lifetime, not only of her age, and there's a lot of different aspects as well, but her expectation. It's almost like there's a lot of things that comes with connecting with a guy like that. You have to offer a certain level of femininity. So again, when it comes to marriage, I think that it is an opportunity that some ladies have to connect with a guy that's willing to take care of all the bills, but there's certain unique qualities that a woman would have to be bringing to a relationship that would even inspire a man to even consider something like that. Obviously, there are many situations where that's happening here in the West, but even there are, just ordinary guys that's making $40,000 a year, and some of you may even be familiar with the Passport Bros movement. There are a lot of guys that are either moving overseas or they're finding wives and bringing them back because they find that they have more opportunities to obtain relationships with women that display that femininity. But there are a lot of opportunities for men to, overseas to find a partner, because, there are a lot of ladies in Cambodia, in Thailand, in Colombia, Brazil, and all these different, Venezuela, that are demonstrating femininity. They're fit, they're small. Most guys prefer a woman that's fairly small and really just willing to actually take care of a home, take care of the children, but most importantly, like value the man in a very unique way that makes a man feel wanted. And I think that's one thing that every man wants, regardless of where he is with his faith, religion, worldview, philosophies. We all want to be valued by women. So I think it's important just to be mindful of that. So I don't think it's impossible for women to obtain, a guy that's willing to take care of the financial responsibilities, but it's important just to be mindful of some of the things that we both need in a relationship, and so keep that in mind. But also the unrealistic expectations concept really goes into a man taking care of certain things that maybe is not his responsibility. There are some women that will deliberately put themselves in financial burdensome situations, and not all, but there are some women that expect the guy to take lead on their poor decision making and stuff like that. And when you get married, that debt that one person has becomes both your debt. Your money is both your money. And so essentially there are a lot of men that want to be careful with connecting with a woman that has more realistic expectations for a relationship, including myself. There are a lot of very beautiful ladies that are willing to do all sorts of things to accommodate us, but there has to be a right fit, and it takes time to really essentially just date somebody and really connect with them properly. And as a Christian man, God has requirements for the type of woman that he wants me to connect with. I think the last deterrent, which is it's one of the heavy hitters, and that is really the court system and the 50% divorce rate here in the West. There are a lot of guys that are just not appealed by that. There are some guys that are willing to try it out, other guys that they're not exactly interested in that, when they can go to somewhere in Asia where the divorce rate is 4%. It's just different. It's a different battle. And there are a lot of guys that they don't want divorce. They don't want to deal with that at all. They don't want to have to ever have a problem with that. And so this is why some guys are willing to go overseas or just take the time to connect with a woman that is not really bringing any of those problems in their lives. Even as a man that's in my middle age time period, like I've slowed down in some ways and I really just want to have a more simpler life. And so the idea of connecting with a woman that's going to add burdens or add difficulties is not really appealing. And most of us guys operate that way. We just, in a way, we're very simple. We're not looking for somebody that's going to complicate the life that we already have. Like we can already complicate our own life. When we come home, we want to actually be calm with somebody. We want to, finish fighting the world, whether it's work, whether it's politics, whether it's anything else, and come home to somebody that loves us, that we can trust and we can value and talk to. That cares about what's happening to us, that's willing to accommodate us, really serve us, just as we would be serving them. And so because there are a lot of gentlemen that they're not seeing those opportunities, or maybe, they're just not in the position where they're, but essentially this is why there are a lot of guys that are hesitant to move forward when it comes to marriage. So I really wanted to share that with you guys. God bless you guys. This is James here at Unique Perspectives. Thank you very much. I'm here at Clover Park once again in Santa Monica, California. So yeah, if you have any thoughts, please comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.